things change so rapidly, so quickly, with a tweet, with a comment from one of the White House officials, that you don't necessarily want to get kind of attached to any given outcome. What do you think is the likely outcome here? Do you assume that cooler heads will prevail?
Well, it depends on what you mean by cooler. I do think we're going to get the $34 billion in U.S. tariffs on July 6th. There's not a lot of time to head that off. The president has an inclination toward tariffs. The administration wants to show that it's tough on China, especially after backing off a step on investment and export controls. So I think we'll get the $34 billion. $34 billion is not a lot of money. After that, I think there's the opportunity for cooler heads to prevail.
Do you think that negotiations are still underway at the moment behind closed doors? I mean, China has said if the tariffs actually get imposed, then basically everything else that was agreed before that was done in good faith, is now off the table. Do you think that the trust deficit in this relationship is at a pretty poor place at the moment?
Yeah, I think it's hard to have meaningful negotiations right now because we just went through a round of this in May where the Chinese thought they had a deal and then it turns out they didn't. And so it's hard to find the right person on the Chinese side to represent them. It's hard to find the right person to talk to on the American side because it seems like you can talk to one cabinet member and they turn out to be wrong. I think we actually need in this relationship some pain. Both sides need to feel a little bit of pain or a little bit of concern, and that will motivate them to negotiate. I think given that we just failed in May, it's going to be really hard to act quickly before a July 6th deadline.
Well, Derek, as I ask you a question, I want to call up another hashtag GTV, Bloomberg chart, which shows, the title is China Can't Match Tariffs on $250 billion worth of goods. And you just show how many more goods China, the blue line, how many more goods that China is selling to the U.S. compared to the white little bars, which are how much U.S. is selling to China. So when you speak about pain, it seems like within China itself, academics, some business people are talking about what road have we gone down? Has President Xi miscalculated how much pain this can inflict on China and what a dangerous path this is now?
I think he certainly has. I think it was a mistake for the Chinese to say we will match American trade tariffs for exactly the reason you just mentioned. That's a road China can't match the U.S. on. No matter what number they name, we can name a bigger number until they run out of trade to apply tariffs to. So they should have done something else. They should have threatened American companies in China. There are more targeted reactions they could have had. Going down this road, I think, is why you see the Chinese stock market concerned. This is not a winning play for China, which means we have a lot of uncertainty in front of us. What will China do instead? Will it really provoke the U.S. into the additional tariffs, which would be very unwise? I think there was kind of a knee-jerk response on the Chinese side, which was not productive, and it spooked investors and traders in China proper.
So, Derek, you have argued that the problem with tariffs, among other things, is it doesn't address fundamental issues like Chinese intellectual property coercion and theft, subsidization of state-owned enterprises. But isn't that in part what Trump, however crudely, is trying to do by pushing back against China's investment in economically or sensitive technology companies in the U.S.?
Well, I mean, preventing the Chinese from buying U.S. Tech companies may be very smart. In fact, I agree with it to a large extent. It doesn't curb their incentives to steal tech or coerce it. It increases it. If you can't buy the tech, you steal it or coerce it. When you put tariffs on Chinese companies by sector, if you say this whole sector faces tariffs, you don't get better behavior from companies because no matter what they do, they're going to face the tariffs. The president has said he wanted a trade deficit to close. That has nothing to do with Made in China 2025. That's about trade balances in 2018 and 2019. So, the U.S. winning this confrontation with China doesn't mean we get what we really want, which is a restructuring of the Chinese economy. It means we win today.
Okay.
The restructuring of the Chinese economy is a multi-year problem. We're not making progress on that. We're just punishing everyone we can get a handle on instead of targeted sanctions that push China in the right direction.
So you're leading me to my quick question and your quick answer. What should the U.S. be doing?
The U.S. should be picking out Chinese state-owned enterprises that are very large and the Chinese are pushing towards global champion status and target those. Those are the ones that hurt the Communist Party the most. It doesn't involve taxing American consumers. That's how you get China to change policy, by saying you can't create global champions because we won't let you, so you better think of something else.